Fran Sisco, excerpt from An Evening with Quentin Crisp, by Quentin Crisp. Now I know it's late to ask you to abide by restrictions handed down to you by your pastors and your masters, your elders and your betters. So what I think we need are chains of our own making. However heavy these may be, they will never feel as irksome as restraints placed by others. And not any old chains. We will have to have a system that begins with each of us trying to decide what it is that makes him the way he is, and then agreeing not to do, wear, or say anything that doesn't reinforce this image. This involves a journey to the interior. Not altogether a pleasant experience. Why? Well, because as well as totaling what you consider to be your assets, you will also have to take a long, hard look at those things that your friends call the trouble with you. For the whole purpose of life is to reconcile the glowing opinion we have of ourselves with the terrible things that people feel about us and say about us. The synthesis between these two opposing opinions will be your identity. But that's not quite enough. Your identity is like your fingerprints. These two are your very own, but if they're discovered, they may be used against you. Therefore, you will have to polish up your new identity until it becomes a style. Something interesting by which you are prepared, by which you are proud to be identified, and something which you can barter with the outer world to get from it what you want. I won't say what you deserve, because if we all got what we deserved, we would starve. This polishing up process will make your days so formal that compared with them, the life of a Trappist monk would seem like an orgy. Now, I know I'm rattling on about problems which by world standards would be trivial. This I understand, but I do so because never a day goes by, well, never a month goes by, without someone coming up to me and saying, "Oh, you do have a nice life." Me? A nice life? This would be a reasonable remark if I lived as you do in mansions with standard of living, but I don't. I live on the Lower East Side of New York, Manhattan, just beyond Redemption, in a small room which has never been cleaned in 15 years. What brings me to my first message of hope? Never sweep the place where you live, because after the first 4 years, the dirt doesn't get any worse. It's just a question of not losing your nerve. I'm sure I'm right about this. The other day, a woman said to me, "No wonder you're so nice to everybody. You never do any housework." So now it transpires that all the middle and upper class housewives in the world are in a blind rage by 10:30 in the morning, worn out. I shouldn't wonder with all that sweeping, dusting, and washing the dishes. Now there's no need to wash the dishes unless you find that you've passed the fish barrier. It works like this. When you're hungry and you look at your plate, it says bacon. You think, I could eat an egg. And the next day, when your plate says egg, you think, I could eat a fish. But when you look at your plate and it says fish, It's time to wash the dishes. I'm only telling you these things, by the way, so as to set you free from your boring domestic rituals. I want to give you some time each day when you can stop looking outward and start looking inward. Then you can decide who you truly are. Now, the next thing that my visitors say is, "Oh, you know so much, such wonderful people." And I do. But this too would only be a logical comment if my room was stuffed with people of wealth, influence, and status. And it isn't. It's full with denizens from the Lower East Side. And that brings me to my second message of hope. Never try to keep up with the Joneses. Drag them down to your level. It's cheaper. Then I'm asked, where do I meet these wonderful people? And I say, as a rule, in layabout cafes. These marvelous places where you can sit through lunch, tea, and supper with 1 cup of coffee. I used to offer to take my friends to one of these places, but they would always mutter something like, "Of course, when we get there, you have to tell me what to say." I hope I am painting for you a thoroughly depressing picture of someone who has reduced himself to the level where he envies me, and who seems to be living like a kidnapped victim in an unwanted isolation only a few yards from where the traffic of the world is going by, with nothing more substantial boarding up the windows than self-doubt. The words, "You'd have to tell me what to say," are a clue. They show us that we are not dealing with the dreary old search for true love. The person who wants to make friends doesn't have to think what to say. He has to learn how to listen. Now, we'd all like to have friends, but if it means you've got to listen to them, the price is ridiculous. So what does he want? As I see it, he longs for someone, somewhere to go, and when he gets there, for somebody to be. But where and who? When modern man looks around in search of a destiny, nothing presents itself to him as it did when I was young, as being suited to his age, his sex, his nationality, his class, and his station in life. Nowadays, whichever direction he looks in, he finds himself in a landscape without signposts, without milestones, without roads. The sheer vastness of the terrain that lies before him may make him feel small. Now, if we are going to develop our own style, we must banish forever our thoughts that are self-diminishing. We mustn't imagine that anything we discover when we make our journey to our interior is too trivial or even too distasteful to present to the world. The curiosity of your neighbors is a tribute to your individuality, and you should encourage it. Never defend yourself. I am appalled by the lust for evasion, which seems to be absolutely everywhere. Even among actors who presumably are a nation of exhibitionists. Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton were so great that they brought style to marriage, a difficult thing to do. And then they brought style to divorce. But even they expressed the fear that the paparazzi in Rome might take pictures of them in the lavatory. Now, the way to deal with that problem if you think it is one, is not to build a higher and higher wall around your villa, but learn to urinate with style. All concealment is wrong. If there were none, half of the world's problems would disappear overnight. There would be no snooping, no fixing, no blackmail, and no fear in the world other than physical fear. That wouldn't be a bad start. And not only is all secrecy a sin, but it doesn't work. Thank you.